Gaming publishers Annapurna Interactive entire staff resigns following a dispute. Let's see.
Annapurna Interactive. I almost see them as like the A24 of the gaming realm. They take the
I don't know what Annapurna is, and I don't know what A24 is.
smaller projects that are not necessarily going to be these massive blockbusters or intended to be that way. They tend to be games from smaller studios with like really neat and unique creative vision, and they tend to fund those types of games, the ones that are really creatively and artistically driven. And so anything published by Annapurna Interactive,
Remember, being unique doesn't mean that you're useful. Being unique doesn't even always mean a good thing.
it always catches my attention. Some of their games that stand out to me include What Remains of Edith Finch from back in 2017, Outer Wilds and Sayonara Wild Hearts in 2019, 12 Minutes in 2021, the one starring James McAvoy and Daisy Ridley and the like. There's Neon White and Stray in 2022, Cocoon
Oh, Stray was a big deal.
in 2023, among many others. And I mean, you got the Blade Runner 2033 game that they're still working on. And alongside that, they also recently partnered with Remedy Games to finance Control 2. Right here, Remedy Entertainment announced the following: we're partnering with Annapurna to co-finance Control 2. We hope you're as excited about what this means for our creative output and ongoing independence as we are. We are
Well, they're probably not excited with what's currently happening, at least.
also happy to announce that Annapurna will work with us on expanding the Control and Alan Wake franchises into film and TV. Annapurna as a publisher, I'd say, is the complete antithesis
Alan Wake was a disaster, and now that we know that it didn't even sell enough, I wonder what's gonna happen to that. Ah, well, go vote, go broke. It is what it is.
of what we're seeing from a lot of other AAA publishers, where it's all about those big blockbusters and chasing trends and live services and whatever. Annapurna actively seems to be looking for teams who are just making something interesting because they have a vision that they want to realize. And it's about like establishing new and interesting trends almost, or just games that just think outside the box, that are out of the norm, and in turn make them just extremely fascinating and stuff that pushes the boundaries of like what you can achieve with this medium, and that highlights what makes a video game special. Now, we started to see trouble in paradise back in September 6th of 2024 when the Hollywood Reporter released the following article in which they said that Annapurna president Nathan Gary has exited the company, which kind of came out of the blue. Nathan Gary is stepping down as the president and also departing from the company, and alongside him, co-heads of Annapurna's indie gaming division Deborah Mars and Nathan Vela are also departing, with Hector Sanchez having recently joined and being named the new president of the interactive division of Annapurna.
That's a lot of high-profile people quitting at the same time. Very interesting, and honestly, very concerning.
And under Ellison, who is the owner of the parent company Annapurna, and her senior leadership, the company will integrate its in-house gaming operations with the rest of Annapurna's divisions, which include film, TV, and theater. So,
Ooh, that does not sound good at all. Because there's a reason companies have different divisions. Because each division does the same thing, even if they do it in a different way. They concentrate on different things. Their approaches are different. This is why you have this sort of separation in the first place. Because keeping everything in a giant mishmash ball of, gray is often very, very bad. It slows down process and makes things inefficient, and there's a lot of butting heads. That's why we have this division of labor in every big company, because it's kind of necessary.
we saw an exodus of leadership from within Annapurna Interactive, which was kind of strange.
Also, this is pretty bad because if you have a bigger thing and it absolves fully the smaller thing, the smaller thing is not gonna survive how it did, because the big thing is absorbing you, and now they're making you do things like the big thing does, which means, well, typically bad things. In a lot of cases, that does mean bad things. That does explain the layoffs and people leaving in that case, I guess, but pretty concerning, not gonna lie. You know, When Microsoft acquired Xbox, that wasn't that much of a concern because the leadership positions, while some of them are gonna change, it's not gonna be like an instantaneous thing, and it's still gonna be a more or less independent entity. But now they're gonna have, a direction forced upon them. That's different. But this seems something like a disaster waiting to happen to a small degree at least.
By itself. But then right here we have a new report 6 days later, published on September 12th, 2024, from Jason Schreier, who released the following article via Bloomberg titled Annapurna Video Game Team Resigns, Leaving
Ugh.
Partners Scrambling. So it's not just the leadership of Annapurna Interactive who resigned, the entire staff of Annapurna Interactive decided to leave the company and follow suit alongside the leadership, which is, I mean, kind of crazy.
Was this sort of one of those situations where just a new studio gets created?
This is what I call a boy.
How many studios have been created from the bloated corpse of Blizzard at this point?
It reads right here that the entire staff of Annapurna Interactive, the video game publishing division of Megan Ellison's Annapurna Studio, so Annapurna Studio is the parent company, Annapurna Interactive is one division of it, resigned this month following a dispute with its owner. President Nathan Gary and his team had been negotiating with Ellison to spin off the video game division as an independent entity, but that seemingly didn't work out. Ellison pulled out an
Yeah, the underlying text is, remember what I just said, there's a reason these things are typically separated? Yeah, this is kind of the follow-up. So, the bigger company wanted to absorb the smaller one into them and make them do things their own way, and they did not like it, and seems people have left. Which, honestly, should be the whole story and video. Well, I guess we're saving 9 minutes.
negotiations, after which Gary and other executives resigned, which is what the Hollywood Reporter reported.
Because there's no way anything else happened. These things don't happen in different ways. Either nothing happens, nothing too much changes. Maybe a couple of people get swapped out, redefined in positions or whatever, or they just all abandon ship because they're not longer needed, or they no longer have the ability to do what they please, which is a problem often. Well, I guess that's the video.
But then that was followed by around 24 other staffers resigning, the entire collective of Annapurna Interactive deciding we're out. All 25 members of the Annapurna Interactive team collectively resigned. This was one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make, and we did not take this action lightly, said Gary and the group in a joint statement. Now, there are very little details as to why they took such drastic measures, but a mass boycott like this doesn't happen unless a group is extremely unhappy with leadership, and that's the aspect to the story that's still a
Young with his communism takes. It's still leadership. It's not necessarily the leadership, but yeah, again, being absorbed by a higher entity means that things are going to be better for the people in charge of the higher entity's projects, but worse off for you, because you're going to be under new management at the bare minimum, no matter what position you are in.
giant question mark. There are still many unresolved mysteries around what exactly the negotiations were about, why they wanted to separate Annapurna Interactive from Annapurna and kind of spin off to become independent, and what about leadership?
Less oversight. Because if Annapurna Interactive is what it was, movie, theater, or whatever kind of thing, that means that they're gonna force some ways of doing stuff and some values that most likely these people completely disagree with. And well, that's bad. That is bad. Because, okay, let me tell you one thing about real life and high leadership positions. Okay? People leave these positions for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes they're ousted, sometimes they're replaced, sometimes they completely fuck up. But a lot of people in these high leadership positions leave because of a very specific, explicit reason, and that is that they are no longer allowed to operate freely. I have seen many people of high position leave literally just because that one reason. And this kind of completely smells like it.
Was so upsetting to these folks that they decided it was better to mass boycott Annapurna Interactive instead of deciding to stick with a company under the Annapurna leadership, under the leadership of Megan Ellison. Though the fact that Megan is
Who wants to be led by a woman? Haven't we seen enough of that in gaming? I understand.
the daughter of a billionaire, specifically billionaire Larry Ellison, might already suggest that she's in a privileged position where
guy.
she maybe doesn't
Not
quite
personally.
understand the needs and wants of creatives who are looking to make a company.
Now, the thing here is her needs and wants, no matter what they are, by the way, are not maybe necessarily incorrect, by the way. Because again, this is a merger type of situation. Things go different, and again, one side in the merger is typically not happy, and that's typically the smaller part that gets merged because that's where people get laid off. That's where people need to readjust and all of those things. But if you're on the big side of the merger, well, if you're someone in a decent position, if you're someone who knows how to do their job and are in good standings, maybe that's a leg up to you. It happens. Often happens, really often.
Pursue the best intentions possible for the kinds of games that Annapurna Interactive tends to pursue and foster and nurture and help publish. I don't know. This is all speculative on my end, but usually corporate heads who are in the privileged position to be billionaires and all they care about is money don't tend to care much about the art.
Yes, that is exactly the type of corporate head you want. You don't want someone who's gonna risk your livelihood as just an employee of a company because they think that Sonic Chew is gonna be a great game that's gonna sell millions, okay? No. No, you want someone who is actually a reasonable person and thinks about money. I don't understand this absolute, completely bizarre obsession, especially if young, where people constantly say, oh, the CEOs are not supposed to care about the money. No, the CEOs are supposed to care about the money. There are CEOs from car manufacturing companies go to bread manufacturing companies as CEOs, and you know why? Because they're CEOs and they have experience. It doesn't matter if you haven't worked in the field. That's just a really good bonus sometimes to have. Leading a company is completely different than, working at a certain field. It's nice that you know a couple of things, how they happen, but, business knowledge kind of over trumps those things in a lot of cases.
Art form, but rather the result of what the art form can achieve financially for the corporation and the corporate and financial interests. Though apparently we are going to get more answers in the coming weeks. Jason Schreier is looking to get more information before he publishes a story about what exactly happened behind the scenes that caused this kind of mass quitting on the part of all Annapurna Interactive staff members and executives, and why they were not content enough with the current leadership structure to stick around, saying, I know there's still a lot of lingering questions about what happened at Annapurna Interactive and why the entire staff resigned. I'm still reporting and hope to publish a follow-up story in the coming weeks. So we'll find out soon enough, I suppose. In the meantime, though, we got Megan Ellison releasing the following statement to Bloomberg, stating, our top priority is continuing to support our developer and publishing partners during this transition. We're committed to not only our existing slate of games, but also expanding our presence in the interactive space as we continue to look for opportunities to take a more integrated approach to linear and interactive storytelling across film and TV, gaming, and theater. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of ongoing deals between Annapurna Interactive, the publisher, and the myriad game developers and game studios that they've partnered with. So it's just been kind of chaos behind the scenes, with a lot of developers wondering if Annapurna will honor the deals that they've made, given the disruption that this mass exodus has caused within.
Yes, you are kind of forced to honor those deals. They're gonna honor them, but maybe they will re-evaluate some of these deals, and some of those deals are definitely gonna go bye-bye. That is for sure. Just the merger of these two things means that that's 100% happening. So expect that, boys.
Annapurna Interactive, but a spokesperson seemingly insists that all existing games and projects will remain under Annapurna. And apparently the new president of Annapurna Interactive, Hector Sanchez, has reached out to developers and told them that the company will honor existing contracts and replace staff who have left, which is definitely good news. But it's important to note the massive leadership change that has occurred within Annapurna Interactive, and how a company conducts itself starts at the top. And now with Annapurna Interactive no longer having its old guard and now being completely taken over by Annapurna, the parent company, alongside the president that they picked, Hector Sanchez, one has to wonder how that's going to change the relationship and dynamic between Annapurna Interactive and the developers who are placing their trust on this.
Some of them are gonna get canned, 100%. And again, by the way, they don't have the ability to just take over and say, well, we're taking over now, all of your deals are null and void. No. But they will re-evaluate stuff, so expect a bunch of games probably to get canned.
Publishing outlet to kind of be the right kind of publisher for the kind of games that they intend to put out there into the world. So hopefully there isn't an adverse impact on the developers. Like, sure, the contracts are being honored, but in terms of what that relationship is like, hopefully the heads will ultimately honor the culture that has drawn the sort of smaller teams and developers to place their trust in Annapurna Interactive, and hopefully it won't become this really seedier and scummier publisher.
It probably will, because that's the reason most likely all of this is happening. They most likely want to concentrate on the big stuff that's a more guaranteed success. And that's kind of probably honestly all of the story here.
With more nefarious intentions amidst this leadership transition. We'll see. That only time will tell. Now, another major lingering question is what will happen to this deal that Remedy Entertainment made with Annapurna, where Annapurna would co-finance Control 2, and they would work together to expand the Alan Wake franchise into other mediums. Apparently, this is a deal that is still intact and won't be impacted by the mass exodus, with Jason Schreier tweeting, since a lot of people are asking, Remedy's deal for Control 2 and Alan Wake is with a broader company, Annapurna Pictures, and it is not impacted by the departure of Annapurna Interactive staff.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious, because if you're going to make a movie, the game company is not going to be involved in that much.
So Annapurna Interactive, again, is a subdivision of Annapurna as a whole, and it seems as though the parent company, Annapurna, is still working closely with Remedy, and that aspect of things will remain intact. So that means...
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Why should it not be intact?
That Remedy can still fund Control 2. Do keep in mind that while Alan Wake 2 garnered a lot of praise and a lot of critical acclaim, it did not sell as well as Remedy would have liked. And
yeah, at one point I thought that Alan Wake, even though it didn't sell that great, still at least performed in expectancies, but turned out it did not. Turned out Alan Wake 2 was a shitfest, and it underperformed in every aspect. Very cool.
So Control 2, if they want to make that sequel, they do need some financial help from a publisher like Annapurna. Fortunately, they're still receiving that.
Well, they can get the financial aid from the Annapurna movie division, which they are in first place getting the financial aid. This does not impact them in the slightest, probably.
And so we can still move ahead with the assumption that Control 2 will be funded, and it is a game that will be made, and that's certainly a game that I'm very excited about. Remedy, I think, is one of the most...
You're also excited about Dragon Age, Vogue Quad, Starfield, Shattered Dreams, and all of the other Vogue slop yank. Shut up. Anyway, that was our boy.
Discussions. Stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful as always. Anyway, bye.